Well, welcome to today's rant. Awesome day here in the Carolinas, and the sorry it's been so long since I've been on, but it's been a really busy but really great spring for me. And start with a little weather. The weather's beautiful. Go to sports. Uh, Quite an interesting situation. President Trump prophesied back in 2016 that Tiger Woods was coming back. At the time, there was some concern about him even being able to walk again, much less ever play golf again. I think Trump got that one right. And seems like Tiger is a different person. I know I've shared this before, but it's still one of the remarkable things in sports history for him to come back after the serious problems he had with his back, and to be playing like he is with a fused back and winning on a major level. So anyway, that's brought excitement back to golf, and but you know, there are things going on. There's always, you know, diversions, distractions, and sometimes sports is a good one. And one of my daughters was at a Nats game last night, and she was texting, doesn't like baseball, a Washington Nationals game, I should say, but didn't like baseball, only watched 0.2% of the game, but obviously had a good time with her friends and all there. And but that's one of the big points of baseball. Now, I love baseball. I played baseball. But, you know, to me, it fits perfectly with summer. If you go to a baseball game, you can talk. You get to meet all the people around you. You can have real tremendous fellowship, in-depth conversations. And it's so laid back, it just fits with the temperature. You don't want to be, you know, too active in the stands or on the field. Anyway, some of my favorite movies are baseball movies, like, you know, of course, Field of Dreams and all. But anyway, I think sports can be a healthy diversion as long as you're not overly doing it. I know that some people live or die. They are either in ecstasy or depression on how their teams are doing. You know, that's going too far. But to enjoy them, to see the excitement of things like the NCAA tournament this year, and great Christian team led by a Christian coach winning the NCAA. We've been rooting for them for years, since we understood the coach's philosophy and all of training his players and character and things like that. And but anyway, all that aside, we do have serious things going on in the country, and things that are continuing to illuminate how serious it is. And to me, the Barr hearings were just over the top bizarre. And justice has really been severely wounded in our country. And I mean, for the Democrats, the left, to be attacking Trump for potential obstruction of justice, which is not possible when you're the president and you have the authority to shut down an investigation anytime you want to, an investigation under your Department of Justice. You know, Eric Holder, Obama's first, Attorney General, claimed to be Obama's wingman. And now the Dems are going nuts over Trump potentially suggesting other investigations and possible indictments. Well, listen, the whole country's not just suggesting, but crying out for justice. And they're calling obstruction when he just suggests something like that, which he has every right and bit of authority to do as president of the United States. And he is over the Department of Justice, like it or not. It's under the executive branch of government. And look at how close the previous administration worked with their attorney generals to accomplish their agenda. And now screaming bloody murder for Trump to suggest something, calling it obstruction. Well, you know what obstruction is? How about destroying evidence? It's one of the key, most, extreme obstruction of justice elements. If you actually destroy evidence. Well, how about the destroying of Hillary Clinton's cell phones, her server, the emails, the 30,000 emails? How about, isn't that obstruction? Who are the ones on those committees crying out and trying to deflect all the attention away from them and what they've done and calling things obstruction that are absurd? This is how bizarre it's gotten. Now, the media will trump up everything the left says, just about, and there are very few that are standing up for what is actually justice, true justice, which is equal justice under the law. There should be no politics in justice. And that's what Barr shot back at the Dems. You need to quit politicizing the Department of Justice. Quit trying to do that. Use it as a political weapon. Once that happens, we are on the edge of tyranny. And listen, we've been on the edge. We were as close to tyranny as we've ever come. I think if Hillary Clinton had been elected, I believe we would be in a civil war right now. I really believe that. I think we were given more time, given attention to get some of these things right. It just seems like Barr is going to get some of these things right. He is questioning, why would they destroy evidence like that? Why would our FBI take a hammer or employee of the Department of Justice take a hammer to cell phones that had potential evidence on them? That's obstruction. And a serious crime. That's probably one of the most serious elements of obstruction of justice would be to destroy evidence like that. Well, are they going to be charged? I really, I don't think it should be done just out of vengeance or anything else, but it has to be done if we're going to have justice in America, or else everybody's going to say there's only justice for the left, or there's only, true justice. If you're on the right, there is no justice for you if you're a conservative or on the right. This is going to create an unbelievable rift. I mean, not that we don't already have unbelievable rifts. This will make it intolerable. And that's the thing that concerns me the most, as I've been seeking and understanding really where are we headed? Why are we headed for this another revolution, civil war? Why is it now inevitable? You see these things. Are the schisms too broad to breach? And that's when these things happen. And most people are disbelieving that it could happen in their country until it actually happens. So these are things we need to be praying for. Wisdom. We need to pray for wise counselors, for our government leaders on every level. We need to pray for Daniels and Josephs to be sent to them. We need, God to intervene, because even if such a conflict is inevitable, I believe it can be greatly reduced in its cost, human cost and every other kind of cost, to the degree that we turn back to the Lord, that we turn back to the moorings that we have by the greatest document ever written for government, our Constitution and Bill of Rights. So that's one thing. Now I'm getting asked a lot, okay, what about Venezuela? I think it's apparent that Venezuela, the Maduro regime, is going to topple. It's just a matter of when. It could, and I think will likely be, and this, I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, I'm saying thus saith me. I think it will likely be the end of Marxism in the Western Hemisphere. And rightly so. Marxism is evil to the core. Socialism leads to evil that is evil to the core. But the Marxist regimes in the Western Hemisphere right now, we're almost all being jacked up or sustained by free or very cheap energy from Venezuela. Venezuela had the greatest energy reserves, oil reserves, in all of any country, I understand, except for maybe the U.S. now. But they were supplying cheap or free energy to Cuba. Cuba would not be, the communist regime in Cuba would not exist now if they had not been propped up by the cheap Venezuelan oil to the part, I think it was close to 500 million barrels a day to Cuba. And that's cut off, and they're going to go down quick. The other regimes are going to go down quick. No socialist government has been able to survive without some kind of source like that, because the socialist economic system doesn't work. People don't work under it. There's no incentive to work. And initiative and all these things get destroyed under socialism for the most part. And under extreme socialism and communism, Marxism, they are destroyed. There's no incentive for initiative. So anyway, I think you're going to see a domino effect and other regimes falling really quick they've tried to be communist, Marxist, socialist regimes. And I think that's going to be a good thing. It seems like things are lining up to get better and better in the Western Hemisphere for the most part. We really need to pray for Europe. I pray for Russia every day. I believe one of the greatest revivals in history come into Russia. I pray for China. But there's intense persecution going on there against Christians, the real Christians in most cases. And we need to pray for them, that they be strengthened, and that the Lord be with them, and that their sacrifice is rewarded by revival and moves of God in those countries. And I think we are so close to an outbreak of what I believe will be the greatest move of God in all of history, but it's going to be fueled by the gospel of the kingdom of God, which Jesus said had to be preached throughout the world before the end of this age could come. It will be done, but we can't forget the gospel is good news. We have the best news the world has ever heard or ever will hear, and it's true. His kingdom is coming, and his will is going to be done on earth just as it is in heaven. And he's going to fix everything that's wrong. Don't ever lose that hope, and don't ever lose your joy in the Lord. Thank you for joining me for today's rant.